Hello YouTube world, Pretend Farmer here. Not a real farmer, just pretending. In this video, we're going to be discussing the differences between having a chicken tractor and a permanent stationary chicken coop. There's pros and cons to both, and Pretend Farmer has been there and done both. So I'm speaking from experience when I tell you what I've learned from having a chicken tractor and what I've learned from having a chicken coop, and what I like about each one and what I don't like about each one. Let's get into it. So if you go to the Pretend Farmers videos and scroll all the way down back to the very first couple videos I posted, I had a chicken tractor. That's what we got started into chickens with here on the Pretend Farm. That's been back over 2 years ago. And then finally last March we built the super duper mega coop back behind me, and it is a permanent stationary coop, much larger than my chicken tractor. Now I gotta say, there's some things that I miss about having my chicken tractor, but there's a lot of things I also don't miss. Here's the deal. Chicken tractors are great if you have a large space or a large yard to move it around in and a small number of chickens. And the reason why is because chicken tractors, in order to be light and small enough to actually move around, which is the whole purpose of getting a chicken tractor, hence the term tractor, but in order to be able to move that around, they can't be constructed out of these big heavy materials. So chicken tractors are generally smaller, lighter weight coops built out of lightweight, cheaper materials so that you can move them around. And the thing is, if you have like a really small, like 1/8 of an acre lot, you're just going to be moving that chicken tractor back and forth across the same couple spots, and pretty soon your yard's going to get all torn up, what little bit of a yard you got. Along that same line of thinking, you can't stuff dozens of chickens in a tractor because that tractor is not going to be very big. It can't be. You wouldn't be able to move it. So chicken tractors really limit your flock size, and you need to have adequate space to make it work right. Well, hey there, Miss Molly. Chicken tractors work great for meat birds because meat birds you're raising up over just a couple months in the middle of summer usually. The grass is growing. You can move that coop around every couple days, and most of them are open on the bottom. They don't have a floor, so therefore your birds will have access to fresh, clean grass daily. You don't have anything to go in and clean. We're talking very little effort, low feed costs, because you're always giving them access to fresh, clean grass that they can eat, and you don't have to put any kind of bedding or shavings in there for them. To me, that's really the ultimate best scenario for a chicken tractor, is for doing meat birds. Now, the Pretend Farmers never had meat birds here, but we've had egg-laying birds. Our tractor was about 8 foot long, about 5 feet of it was run, and then they had about a boxed-in 2.5 foot section by probably 5 foot section that had a couple roost bars in it with an open bottom. So the chickens, they would go up on these roost bars to roost at night, and then during the day they would jump down, walk out from underneath of their little enclosure, and they would be out in the run area of their chicken tractor. And of course, since it was for egg birds, they had 2 nest boxes over in the corner adjacent to the roost bars. That was the only thing I ever had to clean out on that thing, was just putting some fresh shavings ever so often in those nest boxes, and the chickens would flop up there, drop an egg, and other than that, they would spend their time out in the run, then go back up on the roost bars to sleep. Now, even when I had that chicken tractor, I free-ranged my birds during the day. Here on the Pretend Farm, we recommend free-ranging, and honestly, there's just nothing more peaceful than sitting out in your yard watching your chickens free-range. So they really didn't spend a whole lot of time in the run area in there. A lot of times I would just park it and leave it for about a week somewhere rather than moving it daily, because they weren't really in there enough to actually use up the grass and all, if that makes sense. There again though, that was back when Pretend Farmer had 6 or 7 chickens, and that was a pretty full house. It worked out great in the summertime. Where that coop was a really big disadvantage, and this is for you cold weather people, is in the wintertime. Chicken tractors, in my mind, are just not built for cold weather. I mean, especially if you're in a place where you're going to be getting a foot or so of snow. How are you going to get out there and drag and move that tractor around when you got snow on the ground? Not a good thing. And then you take single-digit temperatures at that snow's going to melt and run under there. At night it's going to get cold and freeze. that thing will be so stuck to the ground you won't be able to move it anyway. Pretend Farmer had to battle that in the wintertime. I had to actually shovel a spot to be able to move it to because there was snow on the ground. And then I had to go buy straw and throw under there because the chickens were still walking on that snow and it was messing with their feet. Then I was taking tarps and wrapping around it, trying to seal it up as best as I could because it was an open bottom coop. Not very airtight, not very draft free for that cold weather. Another disadvantage to chicken tractors is predators. I was able to actually dig down about a foot and bury my fence all the way around the run for my stationary coop back there. And that basically makes it to where even if something tries to dig under that fence and get in at night, they're going to have to dig a long time and probably give up before they get under the fence. You can't have those kind of protective measures with a coop that you're moving every day. There's just simply no way to do it. Unless you got guard dogs or something like that to stand out and watch your coop at night, a portable coop will never be as secure as a stationary coop. Now, needless to say, Pretend Farmer has come a long way since having my little 4x8 coop with 2 nest boxes in it and 6 chickens. We've got a much larger coop that allows us to have much more chickens. I think we've got about 30 couple chickens right now, but we just hatched some, so I'm not actually sure at the moment. But that's the other thing, with a broody hen, that wouldn't work well in a coop that you're always moving her around in. She can tuck herself away in a corner and actually incubate those eggs when you have a stationary coop. Speaking of broody hen, there she goes, look at that. You know, trying to raise all these chicks in a portable chicken tractor wouldn't work. They would basically be forced to sleep down on the ground because they wouldn't be able to fly up and get on the roost bars. There wouldn't be room for them anyway. So, you know, having a broody hen hatching and raising chicks, much easier to do in a coop with a floor. You can predator proof a stationary coop much better than you can a chicken tractor. You can have more chickens than you could if you had a portable chicken tractor. Also with the weather, cold weather, I mean, chicken coops like I've got back behind me that I built, they're basically made for cold weather. You know, I can seal that thing up pretty much 100% draft free in the wintertime. If it snows, they have enough room that they can actually hang out in the coop. Having a coop allows you to do the deep litter method if that's something you choose to do, which in turn will actually, as that compost starts to ferment and react, it will put off heat, which keeps your birds a little warmer in the wintertime. And our chickens hung out in there this winter whenever we got really cold temperatures down like in the negative somethings. So it was great to know that they could go inside there. I stuffed extra bedding and shavings in there for them, a little bit of extra straw. And I knew my chickens were good and warm even in the coldest weather we've had here on the Pretend Farm. And I would have struggled really, really greatly to keep them that warm in a chicken tractor. Also, there's no hassle now of having to go out and move the coop on a regular basis. Now, I would say overall that's been replaced by having to go in and clean this out, which I pretty much do weekly this time of year. So it was a trade-off there. That's kind of a pro and a con. I prefer a permanent structure over a chicken tractor. But there again, if you're doing meat birds, I think that's one exception. Meat birds, hands down, a chicken tractor would be the way I go. Don't you agree, Miss Molly? She's been very comfortable this whole time. That's how you know you got a comfortable chicken, is when you take your hands off of her and she doesn't even want to get up. That's great. Well, that's the Pretend Farmer's verdict on chicken tractors versus stationary coops. We've got our permanent structure that we built here on the Pretend Farm back last March here. I don't ever see me going back to a chicken tractor unless for some reason I decide to get into meat birds, which I don't plan on doing anytime soon. If you're coop shopping or trying to figure out what kind of chicken coop you want, I hope this video's been helpful to you. Stay tuned for more chicken videos, and we got pigs coming on Friday. You're going to want to see this. Make sure you come back Friday. Until next time, this is the Pretend Farmer, signing out.